Happy New Year!
That's right.
Ring a 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 ring a.
6 days into 2021.
Dang! Welcome to the Blended. My name is Eric. What up, Ann?
How are you?
Yo, we spent some time in Pennsylvania with the family.
Ooh,
Yeah.
and there was some issues that arose.
Well, I mean, like, there's always the undercurrent, quiet issues that arise.
Well, what's funny about when you have a blended family, everything, things are always complicated, day by day, right? But let's say you've been in the game a few years, you've got things under control and everything's hunky-dory at home, but maybe you haven't really dealt with so much of the extended family on either side, right?
Yeah.
And when the holidays come around, that's when you have to deal with these people that maybe you don't have a lot of experience with you or your entire family. And so how do you go about that?
Well, I tell you what, so many years into the game now, it's so different, right? Like, my wife decided one day, I was sitting here working, and she said to me randomly, will I drive 20 hours away? I'm like, what?
Hey, how do you feel about renting a car and driving like 20 hours?
Yeah, like
For the holidays.
Yeah, for the holidays, right? Now, keep in mind the holidays like a week away.
Yeah.
Right, and then she hit me with the napalm bomb.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen my mother in 2
You can't say no to that.
Yeah. That was like, not only
then follows up that, she's getting older.
yo, she's getting older. Oh, absolutely.
And you're like, all right, you already, the knife is already in my back. You have to turn it.
Yeah, turn it, Jimmy. So right from there, I'm thinking. Okay. So then my wife, she's excited, she's smiling. So of course, again, I'm definitely not ever saying no to something like that, right?
Right.
'Cause God forbid, right?
No, 100%.
Yeah, so I'm never going to say no. So I jump on board, and then I can start getting a little excitement about the road trip we're going to take and all that. All right. So, but then I'm thinking, as my wife starts showing me this complete picture of what her vision is. So now her vision has become the whole family.
Right.
On her side, of course.
Yes.
She wants to get her mom this picture of everybody. All the kids, brothers and sisters, everybody. So I'm like, all right, cool. Then my mind starts thinking, I remember last time I seen
Such and such.
such and such. She gave me the dirty look. I remember. So then but I keep all this stuff to myself, of course, right? Because I'm not trying to ruin my wife's,
right.
This feeling.
It's been a rough year, last year.
Right.
And, there's a little glimpse of joy and happiness, especially around the holidays. And now you get to be around family and do all the holiday stuff and wake up together and build snowmen and all the wonderful things. So you're not trying to throw a wrench in all those plans.
Yeah. I'm not trying to throw wrenches. I'm not even trying to bring up anything that would be the negative belly ache that I'm having.
Right.
Thinking about being around this one in the past that have maybe said some things about me that they really maybe didn't really feel me too much.
And do you think the foundation of this is them just not spending enough time with you, so they don't know the work and love that you put into this family, so they're like a little questioning the situation still?
It could be that. I mean, but it's like when you ask somebody, if you say, I don't believe in an architect, and then you turn around and you see the dream house he's built you, then there will come a point that you would say, oh, okay, I believe in an architect.
Even though I didn't see him design every bit of this and go through the process,
right?
This is the finished result, so it had to be right. It had to be good.
It had to be good. It had to be right.
In this case, it's look at the kids, look how everyone's turned out. He must have done something right, whether I see the day in day work or not.
Right, all day, and at the bare minimum, look at my sister.
Right, look how happy she is, how successful she is, the support she has in a husband.
Right, like the support, the happiness. I mean, she's beautiful. She's not beat down. When somebody's in a beat down relationship.
Right.
It shows
sucking all the energy out of them.
Sucking all the energy. Right, Nobody's happy. So you can see great decision.
But with that being said, in your brain you're going, okay, I want to make my wife happy. That's always number one. There's no questioning that. At the same time, I know there's going to be a little bit of drama and trauma for me here.
Just real quick flashback of the Blended. I remember when I first came into their life, came into my wife's life, and I was introduced to her family. I think one of the things, first trigger, I believe, was I'm a black guy. Early in the game, we run into that problem. Right?
You're black, she's Puerto Rican.
Right. Right. Then as time goes on, and I think I never forget the first time I said something to one of the girls, like, "Come over here," and I had my
stern daddy voice.
Yeah, daddy voice, right? And I never forget the change in one of my sister-in-law's faces, and she kind of looked at me like,
"Who are you?
Heck do you think you are?"
Yeah.
And I think from there, it was an idea of who I was, and the idea of who I was to them probably was more like, he doesn't have the right, to discipline or raise or do anything other than tap dance around these kids.
And again, that goes back to them not knowing what you do, day in, day out.
Right. And remember, in the beginning of the blending, I let the world know that being a father is not something that you ease into.
Right.
Right? Like, it's not something that, you may ease into certain,
there are
ideas.
Levels for sure,
Yeah,
but
there's
either
levels.
you're committed and you're 100% a dad, or you're not from the beginning.
Right, or you're not. And so then as time goes on, as a child's going to do when a child's getting ready, when a child disagrees with you, they look for alliances, right? And I'm always, in my family, it's always been, with my brother's daughters, I am an alliance to my brother's daughter, my nieces, right? But I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to act as if I know more than the ones that raised them.
Of course.
So I'm never going to do that, right? I'm never going to speak against
your brother.
My brother, right? Because I know there's a method to his madness.
And you might provide an opposite viewpoint for an argument's sake, but you're not going to go and say that their dad is wrong.
No, and a good parent, in my opinion, is not even going to have an opposite argument. What we're going to do is work together as a team if we have the best interest at heart for that child. So of course that child's 13, of course or 15 or 18, of course that child is these age groups, and of course they're looking at the things that you're telling them as a foreign language.
Right.
So my job as an uncle or their job as an aunt is to say, here's what the language is. Let me help you translate that language that you're being taught.
Yeah. This is why XYZ is happening.
This is why XYZ is happening, and how can and sometimes, and I know my sisters have done it, and I've done it, and once you start translating those languages for the kids, guess what? Maybe that becomes a help. Right. Not a hindrance. In our family, on my wife's side of the family, they didn't do that. Yeah. And so because you didn't do that, you spoke against, not knowing. Because of that, Christmas 2020 was the first time that I really engaged. I was able to engage, and I ain't gonna say her whole family, but there was one or two that made it possible and spoke against. And so Christmas 2020, when my wife let me know that we were gonna
travel 20 hours.
We're gonna travel 20 hours. I had some trepidation on what that was gonna look like. Right. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, Eric, you're just gonna be humble and quiet. That was my whole mind, because nothing was gonna ruin my wife's ultimate goal, and that was to
get all the grandchildren together.
It wasn't about me. Right. It wasn't about her. It was about her mother. How can we get all the grandkids together? How can her mom have one picture of all her kids? Right. Bottom line. So, so that was, setting up for the drive. On the way down there, the drive, and the day before we got there a day early, so we're kind of hanging out. And, right. And then, bing bong, bing bong. Ah. My wife's smiling. My wife is she's not thinking about none of this. Right. Why? Because her family's here.
Yeah. And I can't imagine the last time they got everybody together. And obviously 2020 was a year for everybody. Right.
Yeah. And so the bell rings. little by little, everybody's trickling in. I'm upstairs in my room, and I'm like, I'm reading this book that my brother recommended I read about business, and I'm reading this book. So I hear everybody downstairs scurrying around.
Yeah.
My daughter comes upstairs. She's like, Dad, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. She's like, oh, okay. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, that's your cue to go downstairs. And say
Right,
what up.
yeah.
You know, like,
Right.
So I go downstairs, say what up. Everybody's smiling, but you get the one side smile.
Hi.
Exactly.
It's like the mandatory, obligatory.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey. Yeah, exactly. You know, y'all guys can't see the lip go up, right? But the lip is going up. But it wasn't Avi.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It only Avi, to me.
To you and that person.
To me and that person, right?
Because y'all knows that. Underneath.
Right.
Underneath it all.
Underneath it all, right? And so it was, but it went well. I have no real, knockout, bang bang drama.
Right. But it's always that, and I can relate to this in that, not that thankfully everyone's hunky dory between families with my husband and myself, but it comes down to a situation where it's still, we're 10 years in, but I'm still getting used to him having such a large family.
Right.
Because I grew up with nuclear family of 4.
Right.
Parents, me and my brother.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
I didn't grow up with cousins. We were the only ones that lived in the state we lived in Georgia. Everyone else either lived in Florida or New York. We would go to visit them.
Right.
But that was it.
Right.
I didn't grow up with, and I wish I did, but I didn't grow up with cousins down the street that I have memories with and build, this awesome bonds with as family. None of that.
Right.
Like, I had my friends and that was really it. And I had my nuclear family. My husband had, 5 kids on top of, the friends and family who kind of grew up together, like families who grew up together in New York, who moved to Orlando together, who then carried on relationships and friendships from there. There's always a lot of people.
Right, yeah.
And so it gets to feel very much like it's me against the world.
Right.
Not that my husband doesn't have my back, but at the same time, like, again, just like your wife, his priorities are elsewhere at the time.
Right, yeah.
And so I often had to be like, let me call my brother, let me call my parents, whatever, to get them over here because I need to feel like someone is in my corner.
Yeah.
And it's not anything of not enjoying anybody else's time solely with his side of the family.
Right.
It's just there is a feeling of isolation, especially like you actually have, memories. You raised your children.
Right.
I came into these children's lives when they were already grown.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're now building these memories over time and it won't happen unless we spend this time together.
Right.
In the meantime, though, I'm gonna need some comfort.
Yeah, because you don't have the different words to say that everybody laughs at.
Right.
You don't have.
You remember when? No, I was like 12.
Right. Yeah. But I've raised and I've done what I've done.
Right.
So you're never gonna make me feel like I don't have that.
Right.
That level of attachment.
You're right. You can't
like,
take that away from me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm deeply, deeply ingrained into their lives, into the success of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's just it was the trip was awesome and it hit everything that it needed to hit.
Right.
As far as my wife with her family, but it did not fix
what needs to be repaired.
What needs to be repaired. And then I look and say, well, maybe. Do I need it to be repaired?
Right. I think, and that's exactly where I was going to go.
Right.
Literally, you just took the words out of my mouth. I think we're in mitigation, right? This is never going to happen. End result of everyone living this utopia and being hunky-dory. That's not life. It's not realistic. And it's fine. As long as everyone's respectful and cordial, we can all move on with their lives. We only got to see each other every few years anyway. Who cares, right? The reality is that we have to keep things above board. And that is with mitigation. And you did excellently. You said, I'll go up there, make sure that no one messes up anything for my wife, because this is her trip, and I want the smile that's on her face is going to stay on there.
Yeah, it's going to stay there. Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm going to stay humble, I'm going to stay quiet, and I'm going to stay in my lane.
Yeah, and you know what?
And as long as the other person who you have this understanding with, this unspoken understanding
two
with.
or three.
Right. 2 or 3. Who you have this unspoken understanding with.
Right.
You stay in your lane.
Right, we'll
I'll
stay
stay
in
in mine.
Yeah.
Everything will be great.
No, everything.
Happy
yeah.
holidays. How you been?
Right.
How 2020 treat you?
Right.
Good. Great. Fantastic.
Right.
I hope things get better.
Right.
Happy New Year.
Right.
Have a fresh start.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
Right, and it turned out that way, and it was good.
Yeah.
Even in my mind, I might be looking at you, and I'm thinking, man, how did you think that was a great decision to make? Like, why would you make that decision when it comes down to your sister's kids? Like, why would you think that to voice your opinion when you don't have, like, some people just offer opinions.
Mm-hmm. Unsolicited.
Unsolicited. Oh, if it is solicited, I always tell my girls, adults do the same things. Adults.
Mm-hmm.
Like, adults with respect they have the same behaviors.
Right.
Like, the behaviors are not, and if you have an adult and their behaviors are so far off, then they're not part of the adult crew.
Right.
Right. They're just not, because if it's wrong, you know it's wrong. I may say, like, again, like early in this pod, the dating, when you date and how you date might vary depending on how you were raised.
Right.
But if you say, if I'm a parent, you respect the decisions that I make as a parent.
Right.
So you may disagree with me, and when they come over your house and they're hanging out, and they say, well, no, you don't allow. Oh, okay, well, we allowed it over here, and okay, but if you let my child sneak out, that's a problem.
Right.
Right. So
I need to know that we're on the same page.
we have to be on the same page, right? And that's the only way, where that child succeeds, because that's what it's about. It's about.
And
the child.
adulting in this scenario is knowing, like you said earlier, that the advice you give in this situation is going to be correct, adult, not harmful advice, especially if you're not seeing a harmful situation, rather one that maybe you don't like for your own personal biases.
Right, one that you may not understand.
Right.
You may not understand that the relationship that I have with my girls are based on building.
Mm-hmm.
Is based on trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on value systems.
Yeah.
It's based on, God forbid, what I believe in.
Right.
What their mama believes in.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be able to know that you should not voice your opinion in the negative.
No.
It should always be in the affirmative. And if you think something, you should at least say, let me ask.
Not to mention, or I was going to say, that's the exact point I was going to get to. It has to be based in some sort of evidence. You know what I hate when people say? I hate when people say this. It's my truth.
It's my truth. Like, what?
I'm sorry. You mean it's your experience?
Right.
Because your experience can be, I can't take your experience away from you.
Right.
But your experience might not be based on actual facts. It might have been unfortunate.
Right.
But the reality is, it's just my truth. No, it's not. Truth actually means that it is real, that it is factual, that it's not something that can be distorted.
Right.
It is not unfactual. It is not opinion.
Right.
Truth is truth.
Right. Truth is truth. And it's not my truth. No. So you cheated on him and he left you.
Right.
Don't tell me your truth is, I was lonely.
Right.
And he worked a lot. And so I had an encounter. No.
Yeah.
No.
Black and white. There are reasons that led you to that behavior, but that's still, the behavior is the behavior.
Right. And so, and especially if it's unfounded or you have no knowledge.
Right.
That's the worst.
That's the thing. Your truth cannot be unfounded.
No, it cannot.
That's the thing. That's the best way of putting it. Your
Right.
truth cannot be unfounded.
Right. You cannot. You have no knowledge of what you speak.
Yes.
If you have no, at one point in our lives, I say to myself, this is like laughable.
Yeah.
To believe that you have an opinion based on a household you've never been in.
Yeah.
When you look over and you say, oh, those girls are flourishing. They got what? They did what? She got what award? They did this. She speaks well. What? She ain't got no scars. He don't beat her. He don't.
Yeah.
What?
She's a full-fledged
She's a full-fledged
adult.
What?
Decent member of society.
What?
Contributing.
Come on now. And you see you can connect the successful dots.
Yeah. You know what's called at that point? Hate.
I-
Jealousy.
Right.
What
Hate,
does
right.
she have that I do not?
Right.
He can't be as good as it sounds.
No way.
There has to be something there.
Yeah, there has to be something there. He has to be. I heard his voice. He yelled at them.
I don't like the way he talks to them.
I don't like the way.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. It's not
You
right.
know what?
It's not
You
right.
have
It's not right.
all the right to speak to children who
Right.
you love and care for
Right.
and would die for,
Right.
who are not even your own.
Right.
So if my stepfather wants to call me to the carpet and bring me daddy voice when
Right.
he's the one picking me up after school and giving
Right.
me money for lunch and putting clothes on my back and
Right.
providing a roof over my head
Right.
without one complaint about it because he
What?
loves me, he's doing it out of the kindness of his heart,
Right.
he can say whatever he wants.
And it's not up to you to determine the cadence that he should say it in.
No,
Like-
because dads are dads, and that's exactly mom, the best excuse in the world when dad isn't around and kids are acting up. I'm gonna call your father.
I'm definitely gonna call your father.
Why does that work?
Right.
Because we know daddy has the voice.
Right. And then when it comes to, and then in this relationship, when it comes to step parenting, you better know that woman. Like, it's your sister.
Yeah.
Like, no. But you got to know the veracity that your sister has to protect her children. So it's not like their sister, my wife, is not haphazard in nothing that she
Right.
does.
At the very least, you have to trust your sister's judgment in
Right.
placing these children in your hands.
Right. Without an excuse, because she will take the skin off my body.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you have to be mindful of in these situations. If you're in a blended family, and praise God, I hope things are going well.
Right.
And you have things locked down. But if you're in this position where you're having to venture out to external family members, understand everyone's going to understand. You might have to explain. That might be annoying, but even more annoying, you might have to deal with some judgment and some issues and have some responses to things. And at the end of the day, just know, hopefully you are with a partner who understands, like, listen, hopefully she can come in and say, listen, my cousin Tammy, she's a bit of a,
Yeah.
she's one of those.
Right.
So she might say something, don't worry about it. Like,
Right.
it is what it is. Hopefully you're in a position where your spouse knows, like, which family members are just naturally the way they are,
Right.
and can say just one ear out the other.
Yeah, one ear out the other,
It's all
but-
about mitigation.
Right, it's about mitigation, and me, I definitely look, my personality, I'm a defender.
Yeah.
So, and I don't require a lot of defending.
Yeah.
But I do require a small bit.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's time,
Right.
be
ready to step up to the plate.
be ready to say to Tammy,
Yeah.
whoever it is,
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah.
Like, don't.
We're good over here.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good over here. Just stop it, because that has to be shut down. It has to be shut down. And just a note for blended families that are not blended. Listen, when a child comes to you, no matter how old they are, have the level of respect to go to the parent.
Yeah.
Because guess what? They're children.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? So just remember, at 15, when they're 31, they're going to look back at you and say, well, I was 15.
Right.
I had emotions going.
Right.
I didn't want it. I had emotions. I had trauma. Remember,
Yeah.
my dad is not here.
Right.
I had so many of these different things going on in my life at that moment. And why would you speak
Ill of this
person that was
And-
only trying to help me at the stage of my life that was so important that I needed help?
And that's the things. That's what it comes down to as an adult, as an adult stepchild myself. I can
Right.
say I understand why my dad, at 32 years old now, did what he did when I was 15.
Right.
I completely understand that. And
Right.
then, thank God, I had no negative influences in my life in that way. But I had those influences, I'd be able to say now as an adult, what were you doing? Why would you say that? What's wrong with you? Again, getting back to your point of adults. Like,
Right.
a true adult acts exactly the way an adult should. Above
Right.
board, totally positive intentions.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Intention is important.
Right.
And I think that's what you have to go to with this intention. That's what you have to go to in these situations, is knowing that not everyone's intentions are going to be right, but as long as everything's solid in your home, everything out exterior will be fine.
And a level of respect for, like, one of the things that I looked at when I was in the house was how each niece and nephew vibed with me. And as I'm looking, I'm thinking, man, you have taken that to a level where you impacted your kids.
Right. Because didn't you say, depending on the niece or nephew, they would call you something different depending on their feeling of closeness in the relationship to you?
Right, or their
parents' closeness to
their
you.
parents' closeness,
Yeah.
right? And so you'll take some kids that, years ago was like, I'm the dope spot.
Yeah.
Because I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely the one with a pocket full of money.
Yeah.
And I don't got a pocket full of money, but for
Yeah.
kid, and as
Kid-wise.
far as kid-wise,
Yeah.
I got a pocket full of money.
Yeah.
And we're going to the park.
Yeah.
Or we're going to go over here and we're going to go over here. We're going to go do
We're going to
something.
the arcade. You're going to play all the games.
All of them, not just 4 of them.
Right, yeah.
We're going to go out and slide down the hill.
Yeah,
I'm going to regret it the next day. But
I'm going to be hurting, but you had a fun time in the sleigh.
Oh, we definitely had a fun time.
Yeah.
And now you take them and you kind of, some of them kind of looked at me like, you're not my uncle.
That's so harsh. That's so sad. Because there's
like,
nothing to do with you and the relationship you have with that child.
No, but here's the good news is, when you're a good person, you're a good person.
Yeah.
And the people that make these bad decisions, that doesn't make them any less a good person.
Right.
That just means you've allowed an emotion to get so far out of reach that you, and in my humble opinion, and I might get killed on my pod for this, and your man or your husband ain't never bring you back in. I might get killed on this.
Yeah.
But your husband, your confidant, didn't look at you one day and say, mind your business.
Right.
You didn't have my wife has told me, my wife has looked in something that I might have said and I might have done and said, babe, come here, look at it from this angle.
Right.
So when you're talking about the dad type stuff, you mean to tell me your boyfriend or your husband didn't say, come here, babe.
Come on, let's talk about this.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You gotta see XYZ.
Yeah, like
you gotta see this.
Like dudes down there killing it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. So that's just that relationship, that those companions. Pick your companion wisely, because if you don't, you run into somebody with mush mouth.
Yeah.
That's not gonna protect you. That's not gonna tell you, step up and say, hey, that's wrong. This dude is killing it down there.
Yeah.
He's being a dad, which they all say, if you're gonna love me,
right,
you have to love my kids too.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't include Disneyland.
Right.
Right? So stay focused. That's the blended, baby.